Spring football underway, which means road trip. The DirecTV bus rolls into T-Town, and while most of us are just wiping the sleep out of our eyes on a Monday morning, you see student athletes here at Malmore practice facility hard at work already, and that's where you'll find the indoor practice facility. A little bit of rain here in Tuscaloosa this morning, but it is absolutely beautiful in here.
Nice weather in here, yeah.
Where I'm joined by David Pollack to talk all things Alabama. So the good news for Alabama is that they send a lot of guys to the NFL draft. The bad news for Alabama is they send a lot of guys to the NFL draft, which means every year you have a new dynamic and you have rebuilding.
Well, that's good for recruiting because you're putting guys in the NFL, and it's good for those players that are going to make a lot of money. But when you look at this team, obviously, I think you lost your best player in C.J. Mosley. That's obviously a huge concern. And then when you lose a quarterback, when that position is the position where it's like, with Nick Saban, remember, don't turn the ball over, don't shoot myself in the foot. He had a guy with A.J. McCarron that was super dependable, that he's trusted the past several years. So losing a lot of key guys at a lot of key spots.
You mentioned Mosley and you mentioned McCarron, but there's a whole lot of guys that are headed to the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at some of the key losses for Alabama this season as they get ready to come into spring practice. You mentioned A.J. McCarron, Mosley, Clinton Dix, Kevin Norwood, Kenny Bell. I mean, the list goes on and on. You have your wide receivers. You have a complete...
Your left tackle.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you have an overhaul on defense, and you mentioned some of the captains in Mosley and McCarron. When you look at that list, what stands out to you besides McCarron and Mosley?
I think Clint Dix was one of the best safeties in the country, and you'll see him go in the first round. Cyrus Quandro is an all-world left tackle. Now, I mean, he struggled a little bit in the bowl game, so I think people kind of forget about how good he is and how physically dominant he can be. But all those guys, and especially in that secondary where you saw some, weaknesses last year and getting exposed a little bit in the back end. So losing those guys is a huge loss, and they'll have to find new ones.
Well, who will be, like, the key guys coming in?
Well, that's the good thing about Alabama is they just get to reload. And you saw it last year. I mean, Sinceri goes down, and you kind of wonder about what's going to happen. And you see Landry come in and step in and play extremely well. I mean, so I think that they have guys. They're going to be a great defense. I think offensively is going to be the fun thing to watch for them because Coker's obviously going to be a guy that transfers, a guy that's transferring in May. Where does he stand? Where does that quarterback spot stand? Because, listen, there's going to be physical offensive line play. There's going to be great backs with Yeldon and Henry. Amari Cooper's still here who can fly. So they still got talent all around them who's going to pull the strings at quarterback.
You mentioned Coker. Is there a quarterback battle here? Coker, of course, coming in from FSU.
There won't be once he gets here. I mean, listen, this is the world we live in now. There is free agency in college football. I mean, remember, if you graduate and you get to transfer without penalty, and Coker's going to come over from FSU with Jimbo Fisher, who's one of the best offensive coaches in college football, who worked with Nick Saban for years and years and years, who's used to being hammered and being coached hard. I think he comes in day one and will be the starter.